there's some new project in mid-year. You get obviously all the numbers in. We have the numbers for Connecticut's market. We've got Realtor.com making their projections. I'm going to start with the projections, okay, and then we can recap where we were locally. So some of the projections, Realtor.com put this out, and that was before. I know some of the stuff you're going to get into this week that has pushed rates up again. But the projections from Realtor.com, and they were dead on last year. Their chief economist, Danielle Hale, who I had the opportunity to speak to this week over on BAM, and her whole entire team, they're extremely accurate, and they've had accuracy recently on these rates. They came out the beginning of the year with a projection that the 30-year fixed mortgage rate would be at 6.3% for the average. Now the forecast is unchanged, okay? It's going to be 6.3 through the year on the average. So that, to me, Skelly, that's actually good news. That she thinks the year is going to average 6.3. I mean, if you look at the first half, I think that's where we were for the average. We didn't end there, but we started in the sixes, low sixes.
We touched 599 for
what's that? What's that quote from the cult movie Office Space? I'm gonna have to go ahead and disagree with you there.
Oh, you don't think we're gonna average 6.3 for the year?
No way.
It'll be just 6.5 where it's been.
Well, it'd be. It's.
I mean, right now what is the average right now? The average right now is probably about 6.3. So she's been right for the first half of the year.
I guess so.
Well, of course. I mean, it's not 6. The average isn't 6.5.
Well, it was 5.99 for like 2 days in February, and then it went up real quick. So I mean, by mid-March,
those 2 days
we were high sixes in mid-March.
Yeah,
in April. So I think the average is probably closer to 6.5 or 6.6.
Well, let's just find the average so we're not guessing here. I don't have it in front of me.
Well, I'd have to add up all the rates for the last 180 days and put. I guess we have ChatGPT.
No, we'll be able to pull an average here. I think we can get that.
Do we have it available?
Okay.
Anyways.
So the projection is 6.3. They've been extremely accurate. If that is correct, which right now, and you'll give the reasons why right now that looks very optimistic. If that were to be correct, that would mean you'd have some moments towards the end of the year where we're closer to 6.2 than we are, 6.6 for this thing to average out. Even 6.1. So that would mean, second half of the year is going to be okay. But what it certainly doesn't mean is, high fives are nowhere near in sight on mortgage rates. Give us the...
Scott, all right, here you go. The exact mathematical average of the 30-year fixed mortgage rate for the first half of 2026, January through June, is 6.27%.
Yeah, 6.3. And that's what they average. That's what they projected what the average would be for the year, and they're sticking with it. So right now it's 6.27. In order for it to come in by the end of the year, because we're sitting at closer to 6 3/4 than we are 6 1/4. We're gonna need some months where we're closer to 6 1/4 or under to get to this average over the next 6 months. What are we seeing right now in rates?
Yeah, so this week, there was not great news about rates this week with the Iran ceasefire basically collapsing. I believe it started with some attacks on ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, followed by airstrikes from the U.S. I think the peace deal lasted for, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 weeks?
About as long as you can smoke a peace pipe. That's how long it lasted.
And this is kind of, I was really hoping that it was going to last. And, the mortgage rates are really tied to inflation expectations, which right now are very closely aligned with oil prices. And when there's war in Iran, it's not good for oil prices. It's not good for inflation expectations. And it was interesting. The Fed meeting minutes came out this week. So even though the Fed meeting was a few weeks ago or back in June, the meeting minutes were released this week. And there was actually a couple people at the meeting, not the majority, but a couple people on the committee that said, hey, maybe we should raise rates right now. Ultimately, most people agreed to just hold rates. But I think if we get in this pattern of we're at peace, we're not at peace, if this continues to happen, which it seems likely that it could, that's not good for inflation expectations. And I think it's very likely that people that are on this committee at the Fed might say, hey, we're up in the air back and forth between peace. People are wondering about inflation. There's uncertainty. We got to be decisive. We got to nip this thing in the bud. I think the likelihood of future interest rate increases after the news this week of the peace deal ending is significantly higher. And so, I mean, I hope rates go down. I mean, it would be great if they did, but it was not a good week for mortgage rates. And I'm kind of breaking my own rule. I usually don't like to predict what's going to happen with mortgage rates. And when all these forecasts came out at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, we'll see. But
yeah, I mean, this was a bad week, and we can be very reactionary. We've also seen things move very quickly the other direction. So that's and I would imagine that the team at Realtor.com is taking a lot of variables into account when they look at that. Although their projection came out at the mid-year, they didn't have the benefit of seeing this past week. I mean, their projection was already
maybe
out.
maybe they're taking a more longer term view and saying, this will pass, even though it's going to be rocky for the next couple months. But I think after this week, it's hard to look at the situation in Iran and say, well, it's likely that we're going to have a long lasting peace deal. I mean, even if they sign another peace deal next week, like how much faith do we have in that peace deal after the first one fell apart? The trust has been eroded in that being a lasting deal, even if they reach another deal, which hopefully they will. I mean, maybe they're posturing. I was listening to one thing that said that, that Iran thought that they had some leverage, and then the U.S. has to go back and block their ports, and it's all political posturing, I guess. I mean,
some deeper projections here on Realtor.com's 2026 forecast, their mid-year update. At the beginning of the year, they had home price existing median price appreciation going up 2.2%. They've since revised that down here at the mid-year point to 1.2%. That's, the rest of the country is struggling with real price growth, which is the opposite of what's going on here in Connecticut. Your existing home prices are going up, and up at the most significant rate compared to really any other state in the country. An outlier here in Connecticut. Existing home sales, the projection was we'd have 1.7% more sales transactions, which we've been just hovering around 4 million, which is really, GFC levels. We're talking about, 2011 levels of activity of transactions, home sales. That's where we've been these last 3-4 years. And the projection was we'd improve up to, maybe 4.13 at 1.7. There's been some headwinds on that. And the revised projection is that nationally will go up about 1%, 4.1. Existing home for sale inventory, the projection was 9% increase. Now they've revised that to 3.6 after seeing some stalling in inventory. So there's your update from Realtor.com.